Honestly, I've learned more about hair loss and restoration from the comment section and small contributors to the subject than the so-called gurus and professionals. Bro science seems to be our only hope. I am AQBS, and this is Back to the Barber. If this is your first time on this channel, I help men get their high school hairline back naturally no matter the scale of loss. So whether you are here to maximize, maintain, or manufacture new hair, the algorithm has led you to the right place. So today's primary topic is hair loss bro science, our only hope, seconded by other relevant information and commentary. So let's get started. As stated, there's so much information out there, and this information is placed under this whole hair loss type of sphere. But when you consume as much information as I have, hundreds, if not 1,000 white papers and research papers, the amount of videos, the slew of articles that I've read back and forth, and even listening to like small contributors, patents, Google Patents and Google Scholar is my good friend. A picture starts to emerge that's pretty simple yet complex. One of the things that you would notice right away when you get this amount of information is a lot of it is information that came from a research paper, and it kind of trickles down into the everyday commentator. These are influencers and people who deal with the actual, I guess, the simple part of hair loss, which is mostly hair regrowth, or I shouldn't say regrowth, just hair growth, right? So these large research institutions and colleges and these companies and lab-based solutions have these articles, and usually they're commerce-based. By the time we get to it, we hear Rosemary works, right? And that's pretty much the gist of it. 90% of the information that we get out there is information that is about either stopping or halting hair loss or restoring what is not even lost. So when it comes to people like myself with severe hair loss, which I have the most severe version of male pattern balding, which is Norwood 7. And if you know anything about Norwood 7, that means everything on the top is done. And a lot of times we, shave our head on the sides really bald, or very, very, very low to the lowest, so it can blend in quite a bit, but it really doesn't. Okay. So the point I'm making is, out of all of this information that has been going on since the 60s, you start looking at these research papers, you're going to find that they were researching this stuff in the 40s, 50s, 60s. And if you go even further back, you can see that the ancient Vedic systems in India and the Chinese herbal medicine was what had, medicines and herbs and these tinctures to do the same exact thing. So this is not a new phenomenon at all. However, the more artificial the environment seems that we are having more and more and more of this problem, and at an earlier time. So people like me are going to be really dealing with all the types of issues that humanity has. I'm just symbolic, an avatar of this movement. You can see it if you open your eyes very clearly in all avenues of the human experience. Okay, so look, most of the information is about omega scalps, people who just want to grow more hair, and if it's not about that, it's about halting hair loss and or covering it somehow. This is why I say that bro science will be the only savior. And why I say that is, a lot of the information that I have given, that I have shared with people, even on some of my social media, a lot of people listen and they say, okay, man, that's a good idea. And some people just kind of And usually it's just a person that actually has the problem. They take the information I have, they absorb it, they ask questions, and it's usually pretty good. The opposite happens when I come across a channel or individual who is a so-called guru or who has a following, and they lock up. I mean, these guys lock up pretty bad to the point where they try to ignore my comment, ignore what I say, or they erase my comment or something to that nature. Okay. Now, this is not me being combative, but me just sharing a similar experience or the opposing experience. These guys lock up. Now, I've been on channels where there are supposed to be surgeons and these people who that have these degrees, and then you try to give them information and they either laugh or lock up. And I find that very fascinating that the bulk of these individuals, all they do is talk about minoxidil, finasteride, dutasteride, and or hair transplant. Now, I'm not against human ingenuity and lab-based solutions, right? Tesla is on this thumbnail, right? Thumbnail was done before this video. But the question remains, how can all these brilliant people know so much about hair loss, but nobody is restoring what is lost? But the evidence states pretty good that you can restore hair loss. As a matter of fact, I'm doing that at this moment in my kitchen. Now, I don't think there's like an agenda for a lot of these people. They simply don't know, and it's lazy thought. Not being negative, but there's no way with my resources and Google, I can find a way to restore my hairline after a decade of being totally bald. And these guys, the professionals, the doctors, the surgeons, these people who have these huge followings, they turn around and all they know is finasteride, minoxidil, what else? Hair transplants, and I don't know, anything that would sit you in front of a chair in front of somebody who makes $200,000 a year. Now, to me, it's lazy thought. They're not true scientists. They don't have enough teeth in the game in order for them to really try to understand it and make it work for them. And the interests who does these research type of test and use these instruments and try to figure out things, they're doing it for commercial purposes, which is a-okay. Back to the barber will be a commercial product, right? Natural but commercial. However, at the same exact time, a lot of these people repeat these studies and these research papers, not understanding that it is way more to that. Therefore, I say that the comment section, the things like Reddit, these little small commentators, these everyday people like myself, is really where you find the gold at, because we actually have teeth in the game. We actually are personally going through hair loss, or saw our father go through it, or we're seeing our path laid out before us and we're like, yeah, we don't want to take that path, right? And these guys are just trying to make stuff so they can make $1, right? And the other guys who follow them are just trying to get attention. So the bro scientists, the people who really don't mind using themselves as a guinea pig, don't mind doing the studying and researching, dealing with either synthetic products that they're creating or testing out, or lab-based solutions, and or getting in the kitchen and using herbs, botanicals, plants like myself. That's where the goal is. That's where always the goal is going to be there, because if they could do it, they would have did it in 1950. These guys have $1 million budgets, laboratory-based solutions, and they're still, all they're doing is using minoxidil, which is nothing wrong with it. But the question remains for these people, why do you use it? And you know what? They don't even know. They say it supposedly does this. They don't even know how it's working. Isn't that fascinating? So even the how does finasteride work? They don't know. So when you ask them, how does it work? They don't know. And I'm not being facetious. I'm saying literally the research papers that are not the producers of minoxidil and finasteride, right? They don't really know. They kind of use it. These commentators use it, the gurus use it, and they kind of give you some, science behind it. But the truth of the matter is, if you look close enough, you will find how it works. Now, I don't know the mechanisms behind this. I can't call out all the molecules and things of this nature and everything from a mineral perspective or how it's made, right? But I can tell you, if you want to know, minoxidil just opens up or vasodilates. This is why it was used for circulation in the heart prior. A lot of times they ran into this by mistake. The people who were taking this medicine for other reasons started regrowing hair back, and they're like, wait, that's pretty cool, right? And they found it and they kind of modified it in order for it to be a hair product. Okay, so if you understand that and then you put it on your hair and you say it makes your hair grow, no, it doesn't. The hair growth is a side effect on the fact that it vasodilates, pretty much opens up the arteries, loosens up the arteries, anything that's stiffened, calcified, anything that is becoming smaller or miniaturized, it kind of opens it up. It gives these veins, arteries, vessels a stronger heartbeat. Okay, if you want to know how it works, that's to the gurus and the commentators. Okay, that's why it works. Okay, it doesn't do anything else. There's no more it doesn't give you any more nutrients, it doesn't give you any more minerals. It comes by the way of opening up a highway. It's adding another lane to the highway. Okay, that's how it works, if you guys want to know. Now, on the other end, finasteride, these medicines like finasteride, dutasteride, things of this nature that bind to 5-AR. 5-AR is something that takes testosterone, right, and it changes it to DHT, which in my humble opinion is a steroid that deals with inflammation and the ability to recover. Okay, that's what it does. When you have constant acute or chronic inflammation, like a lot of men have based on diet and other factors, we have more DHT that's being converted from testosterone, which means that we will not be in our strongest, best shape because testosterone is being eliminated, changed over to a steroid that is a medicine to deal with inflammation. Thus, inflammation is in the scalp, DHT is in there. It not only binds to the inflammation, it also takes out the subcutaneous fat. Remember, steroids make you ripped, right? Does the same exact thing to the scalp, which means that the scalp without the scalp fat and the miniaturization of the vessels become calcified because of DHT, you have hair loss. Okay, if you didn't know that, you guys could tell that to the people that you do the hair transplants to, the people that you guys talk about all these different type of lab-based solutions, and now you know why it works. Okay, now if you were to take those two things and reverse engineer it, you say, okay, let me give you another clue before I do that. Why does prostate medicine work for hair loss? Remember, finasteride, things of this nature, is prostate medicine. Okay, now you could simply say, okay, what else naturally is prostate medicine? Oh, saw palmetto. Saw palmetto seems to be something that keeps coming up in hair loss. Now you see why, right? That in itself took me a while to kind of understand the differences and the similarities between nature-based and the lab-based solutions and why they were doing certain things. Now I can understand. There are 4 quadrants when it comes to halting or restoring hair loss. 2 of those they cover. That is the vasodilation or circulation, and that is the hormonal therapy, right? When men go through the transition of being women, they put them through a hormonal therapy, right? Eliminating the masculine hormones, maximizing the feminine hormones. And what happens? A lot of men get their hair restoration restored, right? So there's a lot of clues in there from a bro. But if you tell somebody, if you want to restore your hair, you go look at what they do for trans men, they don't quite understand. They laugh, right? It's not about going that deep into it, but just understanding the concept of how the hormones can change you from a male aesthetic, a male type of physique, to a female physique. And when women go through menopause and they lose all this estrogen, they have male pattern balding. And they call it woman pattern balding because it just doesn't get as bad as men because they don't have as much DHT. Okay, I can go on and on and on and on and on. So bro science is not really bro science. What bro science is what we've always done in society. We've always had people who've been in a small village over hundreds of years who tasted each plant, who knows not to deal with this plant, who knows not to mix this with that, who understands if they were to place this on the skin, it'll heal, to use this if they want to go on a long journey, and to, cultivate this plant or this mushroom or this fern in a particular way and mix it and match it, right? It happens over time. Now we call that bro science. But it's actually what we've been doing by testing our local environment. Google search engines, internet allows our local environment to be much more vast. So when it comes to having to listen to people like myself, and I might have 50 followers at this point, right? Or I might never have, 3 million followers, right? It doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm speaking about. A lot of times, the more you are in the front of the group, the less people understand it. So this information I'm giving you, if you take it seriously, you can stop your hair loss, or you can actually restore it like I am doing, and you probably will have a hell of a lot better chance than I do, because you probably haven't been bald for 10 years or more. It's actually 13. And you don't have the type of severe balding that I have when mine started in my early 20s and was done by 26, 27. Okay, so this is what it is. But bro science is going to rule. You see it in all avenues. So pay attention to these small creators. Pay attention to these small influencers. Pay attention to the facts. Pay attention to reality. Just because you see a person that has on a lab coat and they have these degrees behind them and these titles behind them, a lot of those guys are lazy as shit. Excuse my language. Because I've encountered so many of them over these last 2 years, and these guys, they don't have it, man. They don't have it. If they had it, I wouldn't have to create Back to the Barber. That's 100%. So that's my video for today. Hopefully something here has helped you to halt hair loss and to restore it. If so, hit the like or subscribe. If not, give another video a chance. I'm pretty sure you'll find something interesting. But if I can do it, which I'm doing it as a bro scientist, right? You all can do it too. Let's get you back to the barber.